Would you prefer that I stand
So
up?
what you're doing, sitting down works best.
Okay, fantastic.
So that they see you.
I'll see you on the camera.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, okay. So welcome everybody online and welcome, thank you all for coming. I first wanted to introduce my mom, Renata Langer, who moved here from Northern California, moved to Webster Groves, but she and my dad did resettlement work in Northern California, which was a big job because housing is so expensive there. But the laws are different where you can place maybe 8 people from Vietnam in 1 bedroom, whereas in St. Louis, it's 2 only per apartment. That's per bedroom, which is a real struggle for St. Louis because we're not immigrant friendly when it comes to the occupancy permit. So anyway, I'm going to share a little bit of history of Welcome Neighbor, how we came about, and then a little bit about what we've done. And now the Afghan resettlement is going strong and we are immersed in it very heavily. So if I talk too fast or too much, please let me know and you can ask any questions you would like as well. So we started back in 2016 because Jessica Bueller, our executive director, was working in the U-City Loop. Are you all familiar with the Loop area? Pretty eclectic group. She was running the tobacco shop near the Tivoli Theater. And it's very popular for people from the Middle East to do the hookah, to smoke this long thing. And so some of the men that were sitting there that were starting to talk about a mugging that happened just a half a mile north of the U-City Loop in an apartment complex called Hodiamont. Some of you may or may not know about it. Hodiamont, the reason why it's popular among immigrants is it's very affordable. There's no lease and it's very large, but the conditions are horrible. There's cockroaches, there's rodents. The 2 managers are, lenient. They let people in, but they're not very responsive at all. So 4 young teenagers from Syria who had fled the war and had been living probably in Jordan for 4 or 5 years come to America to be safe. And they were mugged, a few weeks after arriving in St. Louis. That's embarrassing for our city, and it shouldn't happen. Their safety is very important to our community, or at least it should be. So Jessica heard the story and said, what can we do to show the refugees that we want to support them? So she went online and did a toiletry drive, and the response was remarkable. Lots and lots of people gave things that were to be transported to Hodiamont. So they went there in their cars, and the only people that came out of their doors were the Syrians. It's not that only Syrians lived there, and we have people from Central America, Somalia, Sudan were living there, but the Syrian hospitality was one of, come in to my home, have some tea, we want to meet you and you can meet us. No other ethnic country was represented except the Syrians. So people say, why are you only focusing on the Syrians? It's because of that experience. So it was such a successful first meeting that the volunteers walked away saying, okay, that's not enough. We need to do more. So they started reaching out to the Syrians that said, we want to learn English. We want to have friendship with you all. So now I'm going to share some slides of what had been happening since that initial meeting in Hodiamont. So Jessica's is really, she has a lot of great quotes. And so one of her famous quotes is, you don't need an invitation to do the right thing. Just jump in. Like, she heard the news story. She knew it was a half a mile from her store. She went in, and this is how Welcome Neighbor began. So our mission, we are non-for-profit now, which is helpful because if people do want to donate to Welcome Neighbor, it's also a tax write-off for the donor. Our mission is to partner with refugee and immigrant families, connecting them with the people and opportunities that will empower them to build and live their best life in their new country. This group grew from the fundamental belief that you don't have to do everything to solve the world's problems, because that can be just so overwhelming. You only have to do one thing. You decide on what that one thing will be. Here is a photograph of one of the Syrian friends, and this is Hodiamant, an example of what the apartments look like. They're not great on the outside. They are really basic. The International Institute, though, is responsible for housing for the first 3 months. After 90 days, the file closes and the International Institute is done. And the family is now expected to be self-sufficient, and it doesn't happen that quickly. But they only are given so much money from the government. They're given $1,025 per individual, and that has to pay for everything, for the rent, utilities, food, clothing, everything that would be involved in those first 90 days. So what's sad, I'm sorry. What does it do for health? For healthcare, fortunately, they qualify for Missouri Health Net, but it takes a while for the process to happen. So there are places that they can go without any insurance for a while until it kicks in. We have so many Afghan, they're not even considered refugees, by the way. You may know that, but they're SIVs, so special immigrant visa, because they work for the American military for 1 year or longer. So what is required for the refugees is fortunately waived for the SIV immigrants right now, because of the responsibility that America has for them. But there are so many thousands of Afghans around the country right now that it's so backlogged for food stamps and Medicaid, Social Security cards, because everybody's applying at the same time. So that has been an issue. So in the meantime, we're trying to find places in St. Louis that will take you without insurance. But what's sad is this quote right here: "I would rather stay in a war-torn country. At least I know everyone there." The culture in Syria, the culture in Afghanistan is to spend time with one another. Their families are extremely large and they see each other every single day. So we experience this as friends because they would email us, and not email us, they would call us, ask us to visit daily. And we Americans don't do that. We're very busy with our lives. We're very structured people, and we have a lot of appointments, and that social piece is not as important as it is to someone from Syria and Afghanistan. So they missed that. And it wasn't happening when they arrived. They were lonely. So we were formed in 2016. Riverfront Times is who exposed the story about the 4 teenagers. And another person that stepped in was Mom, who's on channel. No. Who's the man that's on channel 9 on Thursdays that you watch every Thursday? Donnie Brook. Charlie Brennan jumped in as well. And he,
of course,
really,
he's a good friend of mine.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, we ran PTO together.
Of
course. He and I were PTO presidents.
He's so awesome.
PTO presidents will change the world.
Yes. So he stepped in and adopted a family from Syria. They only had 1 child, which was surprising. And they are living in Clayton, and they still are. And their daughter went through Clayton High School, and now she is studying to be a dentist at Maryville. So that's Charlie Brennan.
She shadowed with my husband, the daughter.
No
and,
way.
yeah, and we helped them move.
Shaza.
Yeah, I know,
Oh.
it's really neat.
Of course.
I didn't know all that.
Yes. So we know all the Syrians, and
Yeah.
we know the stories, and that's wonderful. So then we did the donation drive of toiletries, which was successful. And here's just a photograph of that. Response was overwhelming. Then the next step was, let's get together. So there's a lot of restaurants in the U-City Loop. And so people started meeting each other. The language barrier was significant. Everybody tried to do the Google Translate, but it's not perfect. But they wanted to meet each other. And there was a common thread. The common thread with the Syrians was food. And so Jessica, who doesn't cook, her husband is the cook of their marriage, but she loved the food from Syria and wanted to make it happen for the Syrian women. Most of them that we were working with had never had a job in Syria. They were the mothers. They were the caretakers. They were the cooks in their homes. So Jessica, who's an international business major, thought, how can we get the women to bring in an income for their family, because everybody was struggling for rent? And so she learned about the Serve Safe certificate that is required by any cook in America. So she connected with the Schlafly, one of the Schlafly's owns Ford Kitchen Supply. They got a interpreter, and all these Syrian women went downtown and took the 8-hour class to get the Serve Safe certificate. So it's all framed on their walls. They're very proud. So they could work either in a restaurant or they could cook for Welcome Neighbor. And if you go on our website, you'll see that they're all official cooks through Serve Safe, and they're serving their delicious food and making some very good money. All right, so on the left here is Susan Wehrmeyer. She's our president. She lives in U City. And we raised $20,000, Jessica did, on a GoFundMe to get all the Syrians out of Hodiamat. They hated it there, but you needed money for a deposit for any place. So the 1,000 per family was used towards the deposit. Many people want to live in Afton because they were learning that the county schools were better than the city schools. The city schools are very good if they attend the international school, which is Nahed Chapman over by Cardinal Glennon. And they're experts in helping teach these children the English language and getting them ready for their homeschool. But a lot wanted to move to Afton, but it was still expensive, even though it's more affordable than a Baldwin or anywhere else. And some just moved to Melville or in South City. Then Jessica hosted a barbecue in her backyard. And that was a lot of fun. It's where all the Syrians could get together, meet each other. We had a water slide, water balloon fights, and again, another opportunity to get together to brainstorm as volunteers. We hadn't started this family partnership idea yet. Then we did. We realized each family does need a friend, an American friend. And it may sound artificial that we're assigning you to be so-and-so's friend, but that's how friendships can start. You're introducing Mohammed to Charlie Brennan, and then you get to know each other and you do become friends. And that's what was happening, is that we would have volunteers that said, I would like to be a family partner to a Syrian family. And this is my family on the left side. So there were 4 of us that would celebrate every single birthday party. There were only 4 children in my family and 2 parents. And then you start the resettlement part. Our Syrian family has moved 5 times in 5 years because of the trauma that the father experienced in Jordan. Absolutely horrible, but he's getting he's permanently disabled, receives SSI, but the mom had to start working because of the accident that happened. I would say they're very happy now. They now have Section 8 housing. They're living in St. Anne. So the kids are going to Pattonville schools, and now they're finally settled. It took 5 years. This is not a typical story, but just know that there could be a lot involved with a family partner, depending on the family situation. Then we knew that enrichment needed to happen with the children, because St. Louis is a great town for families and a lot of things to do for free. So we would solicit for free tickets. So Boo at the Zoo is really fun. Nobody had experienced Halloween before. Then we went on Nextdoor. We got 50 free Halloween costumes, handed out the costumes, they put them on, and they got to experience Boo at the Zoo with their families and their volunteers. It was a great day. Then Jessica had an idea of creating a Middle Eastern festival, because all the cooks then had their Serve Safe certificates. And so we went to the U City Loop and we had a festival with music and dancing, and the community could come and buy their food in one place. We started Breakfast with Santa. We wanted to ensure our families that we were not proselytizing at all. Santa is kind of universal in America. You know, there isn't Jesus involved, but some people did say, no, I think that you're going to talk Jesus to us. We don't want to come, but really kids love presents. So we had a Syrian Santa come and he spoke Arabic to all the kids. And then each one of them got their present. And then we had a Chef Bananas, the guy in the yellow hat was a comedian and did tricks with the kids. So we did that every year until COVID. Once COVID hit, we were not able to do that, but we shifted. We decided that let's focus on their Eid, on their Ramadan, and Eid is like our Christmas. And so we were able to send, I think it was $25 per child to buy their outfit because they love wearing a fancy outfit for Eid. So that was helpful. Then they could go shopping on their own. This was a special day. The symphony gave us, they have those children's family concerts. And so we went on next door again, got all these beautiful princess dresses, and they had a Cinderella concert. And the new conductor from France, what's his name? Stephanie Deneuve or whatever, had such a heart for the refugees, and he came out and was showing them how to hold the violin. And it was a wonderful day for the volunteers and for the kids. So you see one of our Syrian girls holding the violin here. We knew the women needed English. They had young babies at home. They couldn't go to the International Institute because they don't offer daycare. So we volunteers picked them up, offered daycare for the kids, and we were at the Methodist Church on McCausland, and we offered English. And English was taught by a Syrian teacher, but it became social hour for an, yes, Mom.
I would just like to ask if you could transfer to the Afghan situation right now, because I think time is of the essence.
Oh, sorry, too much detail on the back.
I'm
And
serious, too much serious.
only a
For
mother
those
can
of
say
you
that.
on Zoom, we have Madeleine's mother requesting that we move it along to the Afghan refugees.
So sorry.
All
Okay,
of our Zoom friends, I'm monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, you let us know.
okay.
If I could ask, how big are these populations? Because I knew we thought we'd be getting a lot of Afghans in. I know we've got Syrians, I know we've had Somalis, but I have no idea if we're talking 100, 1,000, 10. I have no clue how big these populations are.
That would be a good International Institute question. How many Syrians are here? We worked with 50 Syrian families. So a family times 5, 6, 7, 8 in a family. Afghans, at least 350 individuals have arrived. We're waiting for 500 total by February 15th to get off the military bases. So St. Louis is resettling 350, and they're all, many are in the hotels when they arrive. We're at 3 hotels, 2 extended stay America Hotel in Bridgeton and Maryland Heights, and then some families at the Marriott. And the larger the family, the longer you sit in a hotel because of housing. It's so hard to find housing, affordable housing for families of 9. We have a family of 13. So, you know, some churches are putting their thoughts together to try to rent a house, you know, because that's more reasonable than an apartment.
I know we ran into an issue with some of the Somalis that they would have polygamous families, and that created chaos in the resettlement process. I don't know if that's anything you've had to face with either the Somalis or the.
You mean more than one wife?
Yeah.
I didn't experience that with the Somalians because we've only been supporting 2 families, but our first experience is with the Afghans. I'll just share, I won't say names, but I met this gentleman. His sister had been living here since 2012. She bought the house for her brother, and then they have 20 in the house right now. It's multiple brothers. So I was introduced to his wife. I said, hello. And then I go to the next room and he said, and this is my wife. And I said, no, this is your wife. And he said, no, and this is my other wife. And I wasn't sure. I had never experienced that. And then he also has a third wife who was not in the house. I guess there might be tension with some of the wives. So, so all I could think of is, how are you gonna do your taxes? And so,
Right.
because it's not legal.
Right.
And
I know
so,
with the Somalis, they would try to get the guys to divorce keep one and divorce the others, and then relocate the others in different cities.
oh,
And of course, their reflex, because they believe that to be their family, is of course to reassemble their family as quickly as they can.
Well, not because they
for
believe
them,
it to
that's
be their family, it is
It
their
is.
family.
No, I'm saying,
because of all the
from
children.
government's perspective, that's not a family.
Right,
From
right.
their perspective, it is.
Right.
So we're at the baby stages of trying to figure out what to say. We love this family, and they have 6 family partners, volunteers who love this family, but they're all saying, how are you going to do your taxes?
Yeah.
So the Afghan gentleman said, maybe I should just say they're my friends. And I said, but you have babies with all of them. So like he'll pick one as his wife
Yeah.
and not show the document of the other. But it's an immigration law question, and it's not the first.
Yeah.
You know, they know how to handle it. But it's a new situation for Welcome Neighbor. But it's a very, very real and very common for
Yeah.
Afghanistan and for Syria. We just had never had that happen before. Does anybody know? You know how? No, it's interesting. So, all right. So I'll move on from Syrians. Okay, here is our other organization we partner with, high school students. It's called START, St. Louis Teens Aid Refugees Today. 2 young men at Priory High School started this club. They became a nonprofit. Welcome Neighbor merged with START. So on our credit card, it says START because we're under them, nonprofit. They help with the moves when we move our families. They do fundraising in the summer. They do the Wildwood Market in the summertime. They have a table and raise money for all kinds of things. They're also doing laptop drives and helping clean out all the laptops for families as well. Common theme is food, which I had shared about, is that our women are cooking, some of our men as well. And before COVID, we were hosting large dinners. My college roommate is Leslie Scoopmeyer. She's the priest at St. Martin's Episcopal. So we had a huge dinner there. And then the women share their story, whatever they want to share. You know, the story is very difficult for Syrians, less difficult for Afghans because they were not in the war. They don't have that war experience like the Syrians have
St.
experienced.
Michael and St. George hosts a yearly dinner as well. It was last weekend and to go, where every family just chooses if they're going to participate or not, and you go and pick up your dinner. And I will also say that Madeleine is good friends with Reverend Mary Haggerty from St. Barnabas. So just
One of mom's
getting,
best friends.
getting
Yeah.
one of mine too. So just one of all of the Episcopal ties and the ways that Welcome Neighbor is connected with our denomination. So
Yes, and Nancy Emmel is now the priest at St. John's. Our office is in her church, so we're now negotiating space and all that. So a lot of awesome female Episcopal priests. Yeah. All right, so supper clubs were born through Welcome Neighbor here. We learned about it because it was happening in other cities in the country. And so that is a piece that we want to return to. And if your church ever wants to have a supper club, it may be with an Afghan cook this time rather than a Syrian cook. Here we had it in, we held many dinners in people's homes. We held it at St. Winslow's table. These are just photographs of our drive-throughs now. The car drives up to the St. Louis Food Works kitchen and they buy the meal online for $30 and then they pick up their meal. My Syrian mom is cooking in February and all the kids made Valentine cards. So they're going to pass out their homemade Valentine cards and give them a dinner.
it is a huge amount of food. Huge.
Yes, so it's worth the $30.
2 Ancelottis can usually eat out of one.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
lot of food.
During COVID, we recruited WashU, St. Louis University, and high school students to tutor online virtually. So here's just some photos of some of the students. That went very well, 3rd grade to 12th grade. They were supporting them online. International Institute, huge piece, a very important piece to understand if you're a family partner. They are the only resettlement agency in St. Louis. We now have an MOU with them for the first time ever. My dream last summer, I told this to the new CEO, to pick up the families at the airport. It's never been allowed in St. Louis, but I knew it was happening in Pittsburgh. You watch the other cities around the country where they're welcoming the refugees, and St. Louis, they were not doing that. By having an MOU, we're now able to meet them at the airport, which is so great. And then they take them grocery shopping the next day.
So what does an MOU stand for?
Memorandum of Understanding. We have it, Oasis International, Christian Friends of New Americans through the Lutheran Church, and I think there might be one more. So we're all able to help with that. Yeah, it is like a contract, and it allows us to know more the internal workings of the families. Something interesting is when you're told to go pick up a family at the airport, you're not allowed to be given the name. They use a hummingbird number, which sounds like a military term. Hummingbird number 3522 is arriving, and then the institute changes it into a case number. So when we talk about families, we may never use their name. They said also the Taliban could be going inside, and so numbers can only be used. So that's the reason for that.
Jeez.
The first 90 days, the responsibility of the International Institute is start Medicaid, start Social Security, start food stamps. Everybody qualifies. It's just a very long list of people waiting for services. They are running, I would say the greatest need for, we're helping 32 families, gift cards for grocery stores. They all want halal meat, which is, it's a blessed meat by someone from the mosque, I guess, but they don't have halal meat at Aldi's and at Chinook's. So they do at Restaurant Depot, but then you can only buy it in a case. So it's really money to buy halal meat and then also gift cards to Aldi's and Chinook's right now until the food stamps kick in. It's what's said over and over again. We need food.
Yeah, John, I think I just heard you saying that halal is like a Muslim version of kosher
Yeah.
for
Yes.
Jews. So good
Exactly.
connection.
Is there time for questions?
She's heard this presentation so much. You are a hoot. Okay, does anyone have any questions? When are we finished?
10:15.
Okay, so we have a little more time on. Okay. Okay. All right, so these are just slides of what the International Institute is responsible for. And then each family only receives $1,025 per person, which sounds like a lot, but after 90 days, it's all spent plus more is needed. Okay, here's statistics. There were 574 arrivals from any country, in 2021. 403 Afghan parolees arrived between September and December. So towards the end of last year is when they really started getting off the bases. 171 refugee arrivals and only 73 from Afghanistan. The largest resettlement week ever that in the history of the International Institute occurred in November in 1 week with 159 arrivals. And they're only told maybe 8 to 12 hours ahead of time, by the way, this family is coming. It's not a week ahead or 2 weeks. They're told within hours. So they have to get to that airport, have enough cars to take them to a hotel. There isn't housing right away. So it's been a challenge.
And everyone at some level is putting themselves at risk, as we did not know about COVID and people have been traveling and living in. There's just that whole added layer of the commitment volunteers are making to transport and the added risk that Afghan and any refugees have as they're traveling.
Yeah, we're hoping that they've all been vaccinated age 5 up, but we've also been told they had the choice. So on the military base, it was offered to them.
And we
So-
have a question in the chat. Do you know if any of our local pantries stock halal meat or familiar foods to the new refugees?
That's a wonderful question. I don't think so, but it's a great place to go. for free food. And so and we also have a resource directory with the food pantry information in there, but that's a very good question. As we could ask, but I'm guessing probably not. It's very expensive. The halal meat. Also, in order to pick up from the airport or to go grocery shopping, you must have a background check, either through Welcome Neighbor or through the Institute, because we need to make sure that everybody's vetted as well. I mean, you just don't know who the volunteer is, so they have to go through that as well. It's really fun to go grocery shopping because it gives you a chance to meet a family and see the foods that they want. And the food cards are provided by the Institute. So, and then the Institute has a website and you can see what their needs are, if anybody's interested in doing that.
So the gift cards are through what organization?
Both ways. You can send it to the Institute. They are huge. Or you could send it to Welcome Neighbor. We would be supporting our 32 families. We're growing every week. We're adding more. Institute, you're just knowing that it's going to go somewhere to the right family. But for us, we have established these relationships so we see the need, if that makes sense. Yeah, they're just so
How do
large.
you manage if you're picking somebody up from the airport, how do you manage communication? Because I'm sure not everybody speaks English.
Very good question. There's a man named Najib. He speaks Pashto and Dari, and he goes every single time somebody cannot speak English. So that is helpful. It's overwhelming, for one guy to do that. And then they have one case manager that can speak Pashto and Dari. So they're overwhelmed. We have a command center. They have a command center. So any question we might have with a case worker, we have to go through the command center and then they get the answer because they're trying to protect the case workers. Yeah. Otherwise it's just too much right now. This just explains what an SIV person is as compared to a refugee and a parolee. We can share the slides with you if anybody is interested, but I know it takes some
Nathan
time.
and Madeleine, who are on Zoom with us, just put into the chat a link to a place in Manchester, Missouri that sells halal food. So if
Sells halal.
yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
if we,
Uh-huh.
I mean, that just gives us some options. So thank you for that. It's
That-
around, it's not far from us. So thank
That's
you, Nathan
wonderful.
and Madeleine.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Let's see.
And maybe they sell
Fine.
gift cards, they said.
There we
Nathan and
go.
Madeleine.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So if anybody would like to be a family partner, we do have a process where you sign up on our website, and then we have an intern, Lydia Rosler, and she will reach out to you to send you an e-waiver to sign electronically, and then the background check. And once you are cleared, we have an orientation. Our next one is Wednesday night. We'll explain what family partnering is like. We take 3 to 4 to 5 volunteers and we create a team. If you have your team, if you want your spouse and your adult kids, you have to be 18 and older to be a part of a team. We assign you a family. Then you do an intake with your family. You just kind of assess their needs. What do you need first? A lot will say job, then they'll say a driver's license. And then you talk about fun. What can we do to take you into St. Louis and show you what a great city it is? So it's not all business. It's also enjoyment. We took 150 people to Steinberg Rink 3 Saturdays ago. They gave us tickets. So much fun. No one had ever ice skated. It was hilarious. But it was fun.
I should have gone with them. I'd have made them feel better.
So we love that, the free tickets. Something else on your phone, you can download the free app called the Google Translate. Unfortunately, Dari is not on here. It's considered Persian. So you type in English to Persian, and if you type in a simple sentence or you talk it, it will translate and you can show it to your Afghan friend. But Pashto is on there.
I just got a new phone and I still have my old phone with strips of anything, information. Do they need used phones?
Yes, if you upgrade and you have an old phone, it's desperately needed. Oasis International has a collection of them. But Welcome Neighbor, they're always asking for phones.
Are the Oasis offices at the center of Clayton?
It's on Gravois.
Okay,
It's through the evangelical churches.
got it.
They have, yeah, there's a lot of money that they are giving out used cars and cell phones, coats. Yeah, but no, I think there's one maybe out west.
How do
also.
we get phones to you? So if we had a collection
If you
here-
could collect at the church, we'll have a volunteer come out and pick them up.
Okay.
No
I
problem.
could get them to you.
We're practically
Right,
neighbors. Yeah, exactly. That would be great. Okay, so Google Translate is a wonderful resource. Okay, so we talk about the team, and you are a team. And the reason why we have a team is we thought it would be like the Syrians, where you only need to help about 10 hours a week. No, there's so many needs, going to the doctors, driving every single week to the grocery store. Nobody has a car. It's just really acclimating them to America and American culture, and also, getting to know the family. So it's looking more like 20 hours a month. So you tag team, one person's going to handle school, another one's going to handle medical, food, etc. The teams have worked out really well. Here's the intake form. It's not daunting at all. We just want to know birthdays of families, teacher names. So it allows you to be more involved in the family than you otherwise would be. And then washing machines and dryers and, things that they're hand washing in their sinks right now, or they're going to the laundromat, but they don't have a car. So just trying to help them make their life easier. We just learned 2 days ago, all the Syrians have to pay back the airfare that that was spent to get them to America. Afghans do not need to pay. So that's another waiver, is that I think because they work for the American military, they're saying you don't have to pay your money back. So that was interesting. Also, the green cards, they don't need to wait a year. They can immediately start applying for green cards. Another real nice perk for them. We don't ask a family partner to pay for any utilities, for any rent. Some teams have been raising money for a car. A used car is very important for families. So, and then we can create an account for them with Welcome Neighbor designated for that family. Here's my mom and my Syrian mom. It's very important that we wear masks when we visit our families. The hijab is worn by the women. We've noticed that some of the Afghan women are not wearing a hijab. That maybe because the Americans have been in Afghanistan and they've become a little bit more westernized. But the hijab, if it's worn, is very loose with the Afghan woman, and it's very tight with the Syrian woman. They wrap it tightly around their head. As a female, you would be able to see their hair, but if you were a male volunteer, you would not be able to ever see their hair because of the Quran. It's all through the Quran. You touch your hand to your heart when you meet a woman meeting a man from Afghanistan. And then the women, they kiss on both cheeks, but once COVID hit, I haven't seen any kissing going on. Shoes, you will always see the shoes in front of the apartment or house. Take off your shoes out of respect. A number of our Afghan friends have said, keep your shoes on. Again, another thing that they are being accommodating to the Americans, but I enjoy taking my shoes off. It makes you more comfortable with them. Here is my sweet Syrian daughter, Haneen. Tea is a very big part of the Afghan culture. So when you're in a hurry, just know you may want to sit down and drink with them before you leave. Okay, that's just part of the culture.
Madeleine, I know you listened to Nathan's presentation, and that's just touching my memory. For those of you who didn't hear Nathan, that the Afghan folks would invite the US soldiers in and have to, when they had so little, but that they knew how important it was to say yes to that piece, even though they had some guilt about taking the little that they had.
The little that they had.
Yeah.
Yeah, their
Powerful.
hospitality, we Americans can learn so much from the hospitality of them, because just giving what you have is is important to them. My Syrian family eats on the floor. I would say most Afghan families do eat on the floor. When there's a bug problem, which has happened in the past, we say, when you eat on the floor, the cockroaches may come, but it is a cultural piece that some don't want to let go of. But some may shift over to a table, in time. Again, it's fun. It's like having a picnic every day. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is a photograph of an Afghan friend who we donated a sewing machine to her about a month ago, and we thought we needed to teach her how, and we came back and here were these beautiful pillows that she had sewn on our next visit. So sewing machines, if anybody has old sewing machines, even the men are asking for sewing machines. It must be a very common thing to use because they like making these long pillows and sitting pillows on the ground. A wonderful dad, Afghan dad with 6 children, and one of the new city schools, the school made welcome baskets for all the kids and they all had signs. So this says welcome to St. Louis. I thought it was a sweet photo. Here's a photograph of 2 of our volunteers on the far left and the far right, meeting the family at the airport for the first time. And they fell in love with the family at the meeting, and now they are their family support partners. Unfortunately, the International Institute placed them. There's nothing wrong with Ferguson, but our family partner's son was a teacher in Ferguson for 28 years, knew the school where the girls would go. There's no ESL teachers. There was no international program. So they are moving them, and they're paying out of pocket to move them to a more appropriate place. And that can happen. So there are very nice areas of Ferguson, but it wasn't a good fit. They didn't even speak English, the parents. So here is one of our volunteers on the left. He is the director of animal health at the St. Louis Zoo for all the animals. And I said, how are you going to have time? And he said, I'm very good with my time. And on my free time, I want to help the Afghans. So it shows you that no matter if you're working full-time, people can make the time for this. You will see if you become friends with our Afghan neighbors, they're very proud of working with the military, and they're going to show you photographs in their garb, and there isn't any secret behind what they did. They want to share their photographs of their life in Afghanistan with the American military. So we are at almost 10:15. We can stop here, but I just wanted to say that they're here. Our Afghan families are excited to meet Americans, and there's a lot of people sitting alone in the hotels that are not matched. I think the best way to match them is once they're in an apartment where you really can have more of an influence on their life and their resettlement process. But it's been such an enriching experience, and I'm sure you all can imagine.
Yeah, you've got on the slide there, I was curious if there was some cooperation with the Islamic community. You've got a lot of
Very much.
Muslim refugees. Yeah.
House of Goods, we ask all our donations to be sent to the House of Goods run by the Islamic Foundation.
Nathan Willie, the benefit of living in Rockwood Arbors, has shown up and has 2 phones to give you. And this, Madeleine, is
Thank
St.
you.
Francis.
Why, thank you. That's awesome. I will pass them out today. I know 2 people who.
Elaine, do you have a question?
Do you have cards that you can hand out?
They're being made right now, but I'm happy to share, you can share emails with me, and you can connect with us that way,
Definitely.
if that's all right. Yeah, so I'm happy to share all the slides that we have here. Also, there's some wonderful documentaries as well to watch, just to learn a little bit more about the situation. But they're coming and they're not stopping. February is not going to be the last time we have Afghans coming here. And if we have so many single men that are here that want help, I took two of the single guys to my son's hockey game last night. Their eyes were so big, seeing at SLU High, the chants and the cheerleaders, they'd never seen that. It was so fun because they're athletic soccer players, and to see ice hockey, they'd never seen it. Just exposing them to our American way is,
Well, I
This was
want to
great.
thank you so much, Madeleine.
You're
for your
welcome.
time. And we have from our congregation just a small contribution to
Oh,
welcome neighbor to thank you
thank
very
you
much
thank you
for
so
your
much.
time and effort. That
Thank
part of
you.
our Christian education budget to thank you for
Thank you
coming
so
and,
much.
and speaking to us today. So
Absolutely.
friends
It's
on
our
Zoom,
pleasure.
friends on Zoom, thank you for being here. And I apologize that we couldn't get the slides to pop up today, but I feel like Madeleine was, quite frankly, her verbal, she gave it the blow by blow. So thank you all so much.
Yeah.